Hello YouTubers and welcome to a Satisfactory Early Access hints, tips, and tutorial video. I am FL Lion 2112. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, whichever may apply to you, and welcome to Satisfactory, brought to you by Facet, the corporation that wants to remind you that you are being watched 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So like a lot of things within Satisfactory, you can relocate items. Usually individual items can be deleted and recreated. So our equipment bench, of course, we have to build that in the beginning. We can dismantle it and recreate it somewhere else, or we can actually create multiples. You're not limited to just one equipment workshop. I can build one there if I wanted to. If I wanted to build another one, you're not limited on how many or where you can really put these guys. He's way too far forward now. So let's dismantle him again, and we'll recreate him again in the right spot. All right. Blink. There we go. He's back where he should. Now, your space elevator, this is actually my second location. I deleted it and moved it out of my camp. I had it near my camp, and so I moved it off further away, because right now at this big point in the game, I've maxed out what I can do with it. Your hub is the same way. When you first start out, you build your hub. You then end up adding a second biomass burner. The only thing is once you add that second mass burner, it becomes part of the hub and cannot be deleted. No matter how I try, it will not delete it. Either one of them. So they have become permanent fixtures within the hub. Same is true here with a craft bench. You know, here's the craft bench. It's a permanent fixture. It will not allow you to delete it. You can delete the hub and move it somewhere else, but you are limited to one hub. It's a special item like the space elevator. You can only have one of each of these, because they don't show up anymore in your builder. They're special items, and they'll only show up if you delete them. Now, again, like our equipment workshop, we can craft benches anywhere we want as well. Again, craft bench. Blink. Craft bench, craft bench, craft bench. And they're very cheap to build. 3 rod, 3 plate. If you have those on you, then you can craft out in the field too. Same goes for an equipment workshop. You can build that at a remote location. Oh, I'm out of X. Oh, well, here's a node here that I could mine iron ore, but I don't have a craft bench. Well, if you've got enough of that material, boom, there you go. So that's why I typically like to keep enough items in my inventory that I have the ability to try to craft something on the fly, especially if I'm out in the field, instead of having to run all the way back here to craft whatever that particular item that I'm short of is. And now word on your hotbar that is located on the bottom of your screen there. As you can see, I have all these items filled in. So if you're going to be producing a lot of one item or multiple items, it's good to go ahead and add it to the hotbar. So in this particular case, item 6 is an older conveyor belt. I want to upgrade it, or I could change it to some other item. So all I have to do is go into your build menu, highlight what you want, and then hit that hotkey. So in this case, I'm going to upgrade that from a conveyor 3 belt to a conveyor 4 just by pressing 6. And it's bound to the hotkey. I can go in here and do that for anything. Let's say I'm going to be building a bunch of conveyor splitters, and I don't need that walkway that's in 7. Boop, there we go, bound to the hotkey on the hotbar. It makes life a lot simpler, and you can do that at any time with anything. I can go back and reset that back to my ramp walkway just as easily. Now let's continue with a few words on mining. So when you first start out in the game, you come across these little outcrops, and again, you can hand mine them and get you some ore, or you can throw down an automated miner, and that allows you to place one down, or you can actually place multiple miners down. You're not limited to just one. And he'll pop up here and very happily start to dig. There we go. And these guys will hold up to 100 of an item, and then they'll shut down. You can grab them all, or you can pick up the miner, and that'll pick up the miner and what's in its inventory. So, okay, now I've upgraded enough to where I actually can have a miner. It doesn't matter which one. In this particular case, and it was like, wait a minute, why won't it let me put it down? It's snapping into place. And that was the problem, was it didn't really tell you. It says, cannot place a resource extractor on a resource deposit. It needs a resource node. This is a resource deposit on top of a resource node. What you have to do is get rid of it. So you mine it. Now notice it's a pure node on top of a resource deposit. These typically will be pure, and what is underneath could be pure, normal, or impure. Impure, you get the lowest output. Normal, you get a normal output, and pure, you get a high output for your particular miner. And boop, now our miner says, yeah, I can sit here, no problem. Boop. So yeah, that was very annoying in the very beginning of the game, of not knowing, oh, you gotta bust that node off of there before you can use this as a automated mining spot. When you reach a point where you can unlock the conveyor poles that are stackable, I would suggest really switching to just them when bringing materials out from the field. It's a good habit because you're going to have stuff that's going to merge coming in. And all you have to do then is, okay, stack another pole on top. And then I already know that this conveyor will reach this one. And that will speed up my building process. Also, when building, your power poles will typically extend 2 conveyor belt segments for maximum. So 1 conveyor belt can only reach so far, but a power pole can reach twice that distance. So currently there's no elevator up or down in the game. So we have to have some nice convenient way of getting product up or down between levels, unless you're just an absolute flat builder. This particular one, that design that I have here, allows for 2 in one direction, 2 in another. So I could have 2 going up and 2 going down, or any combination of, 1 going up and 3 going down, or 3 going up, 1 coming down, but whatever you particularly want to have in this particular case. So the key to this one is that you have 1, and then you space at least 1 more space over. So you have 0 space plus 1. That is the minimum distance that you can have between these and still make a U-turn. Now, in this particular case, this is a very, very compact setup, and I'll show you here that, so we have 1, so we're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or we are going 1 full tile over. That allows us to go from 1 level up 2. I'll show you that here. So we'll stack this to 2 and to 3, and I'll come off of here. Peek. Okay, level up 1, up 2, and if you try to go up 3, it says too steep. So in this particular case, I can only go up 2, and that gives you this nice compact design you see here. Now, if you go, let's say, what if we wanted to go 2 tiles out? So we'll come out here, 2 tiles. Wow, that's really... I stacked that within that other one. I wondered why something looked a little funny there. So yeah, you can overstack stuff. Currently, you can have belts crossing belts or going through belts. All right, so let's get back here to where we were stacking. Okay, so we've got 2 up. Let's see how high we can go here. So now we are 2 full tiles away. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4. So now we've doubled our height. Now if you see, our angle is still the same, but we've doubled how high we can go. So your angle is your biggest thing here. That, of course, defines your steepness. Weak. I really hate to see how fast I'm going to move with the newer belts. So if you need to climb even higher and quicker, so like I needed to go double this, just space it out even more. You could go 6 up from going 1 more over. So you can really get creative. The end of April here, we're supposed to see elevators, conveyor elevators. So that may change the whole thing, but if you just like the creative design look of having these nice little stackable conveyor belts, why change? Make it look creative. It can be functional and creative looking at the same time. It's really funky to see all that product moving up and down these belts. And now a word on conveyor belts. So we have the Mark 1 that we start out with, then the Mark 2 that we unlock up to the Mark 3, and currently our limit is the Mark 4 that we can research out. Each one of these has a different speed carrying capacity, as you can see, and you can use conveyor belts as nice highways. And you can see the difference here of each of the speeds. As it almost throws me off to the edge. You got to watch out for the Mark 4s. They will throw you off. Right. So looking at the Mark 1s, you can see the difference between the Mark 1 and the Mark 2. The Mark 2 has higher rails, as does the Mark 3. And you can tell the Mark 4 is rather beefy at this point. So you've run around and you have all these Mark 1 belts all over the place, and you want to upgrade them. Not a problem. Let's say like I have an older belt and I want to upgrade it to my latest belt here. Not a problem. So I will pick up, and it says I'm going to build a conveyor Mark 4, and it's red. Highlight your belt. Boom. What will happen is it will rebuild in place that belt, and you will get back the material that you put in to building that previous belt. And it works for any of them. You can just bink. Now, of course, you can't upgrade what you've already upgraded. So, a word on conveyor highways. So, in the beginning, you can start putting down a conveyor highway from your miner back to your factory. But at some point in the game, you will actually unlock conveyor pole stackables. And these little guys you want to start using like crazy. Now, one caveat to these guys is you can actually put multiple in the same place, and all you're doing is burning resources. So always look to make sure that you're actually stacking. So I ended up having to replace a lot of these. This one I have it. It's kind of an end point. And there's nothing else around it that would say, okay, you're going to merge stuff into a highway like I have off in the distance. But if it's really, really far out there, I would still just suggest using the conveyor pole stackables as your base resource. They're not that much more trouble, and they're a lot less trouble than going back and redoing a long belt segment, or having stacked poles next to another little resource highway back to your factory. So yeah, you can see like this one is again the regular conveyor pole, and I come back into a stackable. So this bottom one was my original, and it was nothing but resource poles. I redid it as stackables. The easiest way for laying out a highway is, so we start at some point, we run, we get to a certain point where it starts to back up. So I back up just a little bit more. I select my pole stackable. Now I know that I can come from this point and reach my stackable. And then again, I come off the stackable and I just keep going and going and going till it comes up short. Go back just a little bit, select my stackable, and there you go. Now, when you just want to add another belt on top, you just add another pole on top, and you know this is going to reach from, you know, your last stackable pole to your next stackable pole. It makes building a lot simpler after that too, and you're not having to go back and redo this work. So a nice little handy thing of using these stackable pole conveyor belts in your field is, one, great for ladders, of course, and two, a very fast way to get back to your camp. Just get on top and run. You can get back to camp a lot faster than it took for you to walk out here in the first place. Power generation when you first start in Satisfaction is these biomass burners. You'll start off with one in your base, and it'll have you craft a second one. You can tie these guys together. You can tie any form of power generation together. The biggest problem with these is they have to be hand fed. You can't automate feeding these guys. You can feed them wood, you can feed them leaves, you can feed them biofuel. Biofuel is going to be your most efficient as far as how slow it burns and how long it lasts. Biofuel is easily created from biomass. So you have the raw mass, the biomass, and the biofuel. So construct from leaves or wood, and then you can construct from the biomass biofuel. The next level of power generation that we can create is our coal generators. Now they do have an input that allows you to auto feed them. What's really nice is you could say, like, you wanted to do coal production somewhere remote. Well, you could come off your miner, split that into one input into your coal generator, and the other line comes back to your camp, and that way then you have an auto feeding miner that powers itself. So you could connect from the plant back to the miner, and then all you have to do is come up to the generator, and after you've mined some of the coal from the node, put it in the generator. It'll power the miner, then the miner will then start feeding coal into the generator, and it's self-sustaining at that particular point. And our next step in power generation is these fuel generators. They do require fuel, which is not biofuel. This is fuel that is refined from oil. These guys can be overclocked. Currently, all of mine are powered off. I'm completely geothermal at this point. And you can see I have quite a bit of surplus with all my geothermal. And currently our last form of unlockable power generation is the geothermal. Nuclear is mentioned, but it's not unlockable at this point. You do need to build on top of a geyser. This is a geyser spot right here. This particular spot has at least 2. I have seen 3 in one spot. So these guys do produce quite a bit of power. They can be, in the future, overclocked, but currently early access warning. So you cannot see how much power it's generating or anything to that effect. It's all documented what you can do. You can't overclock them yet. But if you want to see, if you connect one up and then connect a power pole to it, you can actually see how much it's generating. This particular point, my capacity is 2,600 megawatts. This is all of my current powered on capacity, which is all geothermal. As I said, there's only 2 nodes I do not have online. One was way up in the northeast, and I just didn't really feel like running all the way up there and running a power line back down here to connect it into my power grid, which spans way all over the map. So wherever I decide to mine, I'm not that far from power generation at the moment. Now here's something in the game that I was like, really? Do I need these things? And what this is a jump pad. I built one, tested it out, and said, oh my god, you really do need these things. So as you see, there's no walkway up to this other floor on my factory. So the only way to get up there is via this jump pad. And you boop, and you actually can control yourself in the air. You can move around and such in the air. It's like, okay, I want to go over to the left here. Boink. All right, we can't talk about the jump pads without talking about the landing pad. And I present to you the landing pad. So again, if you're going to be building high up without putting any stairs in, I would start to suggest some of these guys, because it's like, that's way up there. And granted, while I could probably jump from there to there and not get hurt with the particular legs that I've gone on at the moment, the can't remember what these are called, the blade runners. You can jump higher and you can fall further without taking damage, but if you jump from there to down into the green area, you are going to take damage even with blade runners on. So here we go. Let's see. You know, jumping into a green vat of goo just seems wrong, but here we go. Blink. Okay. This is my first time to do that. That is really weird. But there you go. That's how that works. Just a little funky gel that you can drop down into without taking any damage. Interestingly enough, it does require power to be powered. Without power, it just this green biomass is not there. I can walk back into it. All right, that's way too much fun. So within Satisfactory, you have a foundry, which requires 2 different inputs to craft a material. So I'm out here at one of my remote factories, so I've decentralized a little bit. I have multiple splitters and mergers as well, and I'll show you that here, that I have a node, a single pure node of material coming in, and it can, when overclock, actually support, I believe, 16 foundries here. I've only got 12. The problem is the current belts cannot handle that much. So I'm limited to 12 at the moment here, as you can see. Very impressive, the amount of material that I can pull in, process, and send back to my factory. So with these splitters, I'll show you here, I have 1 input, 3 outputs. So this one input gets split into a third. Now, if one of these lines fills up, then it's 50-50 between the other two, or if two of them fill up, it's 100% on the one. Now, if you wanted to build, let's say I wanted to come off here, take this line out and split it into another 3, that's highly unadvisable, and you'll see why here in a moment how I'm doing this. So this is a multi-tiered split I have, because if you were to come off of here, you would only get 1/3 of this input that would then split between 3 others. So now you've split a third down into a third again. And that's why I've done this. So I have, in this particular case, 1 input to 2 outputs. So that's 50-50. That then splits 50-50 again, matching what I've done over there. So again, all the outputs are equal on this tier as well. Then when I get down here, I split them. Oops. That's the problem with conveyor belts. Into a third. So I've matched exactly each spot here is either 50-50 or a third at each level. A third, a third, a third, a third. So everybody gets the same amount at minimum. Now, if I was to switch these 3 factories off, that means they would fill up, back up, and now everything that comes into this one goes to here. So these guys would get 100% of what is on this split. So these guys would get 100%, and these guys would get 50 off of this split. Now, going into mergers. Mergers, of course, are just the opposite again. Everything that comes out merges into one. And you don't want to overload your belt system. Right now, my factory can't process the amount that I'm generating. That's why everything's kind of slow here. You'll see it pick up every so often and move product. But that's a good thing in this particular case. That means I'm not starved for product. My conveyor belts are all Mark IV, which means I'm moving stuff out of here as fast as humanly possible. If you're actually a human in Satisfactory. See, now we're picking up pretty good, which means somewhere down the line something has called for material and it's been crafting more and more material, and at some point this will start slowing down again. But so I have 3 times the output coming into this one, which then matches 2 times the output here. So that's basically 1/2 of this is going down one line and 1/2 is going down the other. That I'm not maxing out my belt speed with how much I'm producing here. I think I calculated out that I could support 10 of these onto one belt. But just to keep things nice and simple, I did it half and half. So everything comes out looking, really nice and neat, of 3 into 2 into 1. And then both of those go down all the way back to my factory. Nice, neat little fact is, you once you get your little space elevator up, you always know where your camp is. And now word on building square or building up to something I want to reach. One of the simple ways is stacking foundations. So if I wanted to build straight up, you know, okay, I can put a foundation there and stack on top of it and stack on, you know, and I can keep going up so high till I reach a level that I want to be at. And that's how I created this level. I didn't use any walkways or anything like that. I just stacked one on top of another till I got to a level that I knew would clear all the equipment in here. And then I started building that whole platform up there, and then I just deleted all those foundations that I created to reach up there. So now this is square with this level. The easiest way to do that is stack them right below you. Wow. But it says a player is in the way. Jump. That's all we're going to do is jump. So we just jump, build. Jump, build. And you can just keep doing this. So now I'm way up here. So now I could build out and build another platform. Or if I say was trying to reach something that was maybe on top of that little pillar mountain out there with the trees on it, I could just stack and stack and stack until I got to that same height, and then I could build over to it if I wasn't close enough to it to reach it. And it's like, okay, well, I got the one thing that was up here. I don't need anything more. Okay. Just dismantle it and get all your materials back. And then to get back down, just deconstruct underneath your feet. There is no penalty for creating and deconstructing. The materials that you put in are the same materials you get back out. Now, an alternative method is conveyor pole stackables. And you can reach up to wherever you're trying to get to. And if it's really high, you're going to have a problem stacking one on top of another. Well, these guys have built-in ladders. And up we go. Okay, stack another on top, stack another on top. Until you get to where you need to be, and boom, right on top. Now, say like you wanted to still get up here later. You could just leave these in place and you just walk backwards and keep walking down, 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 down. So there's no problem there. But if you said, well, I don't need this anymore, just delete it out from under you is the quickest and easiest way to get rid of them again. And you get all your materials back the same way. So, yeah, I did a lot in that video. Yeah, it was unscripted, guys. I was recording on the fly, and it took quite a while to do that much. So I thank you if you've made it this far in the video. If you did enjoy and find it helpful, a like is appreciated. And thank you again for watching.